a song for my land. I want everybody, get up out your seats. Put your hands in the air like this. Help me sing. Rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying. Another mother shedding her tears. Oh, yeah. Why all the pain and suffering? Why all the senseless killing? Could it be that nobody cares? So no. So many sons lost in the slaughter, blood running in the streets like water. A gun in hand knows no friend. No. Warmongers selling death in my land, getting rich off the souls of the children. Can you tell me when will it end? Sing! How many more child must carry this load? Oh, child, how many more child before we trot down Zion Road? How many more? Sing, wayo, wayo, wayo. Come on, let me see those hands. Heavenly Father, won't you hear my plea? Send a helping hand for the country. In man, there's no solution. No. I'm begging for the children's future. Oh, yeah, drugs got them by the collar. How can we stop this, my pollution? Too many starving and too many hungry. Too many homeless souls in the city. It seems like there's no. Too many big shots with too much connections. Too many loopholes in Babylon system. Oh, yeah, how can your children go? Sing, how many more child must carry this load? How many more child before we trot down Zion Road? What you? Let me see those hands. Let me see the hands. If you care about our children, get up, let me see you. We can't go on each day, no. We got to find a better way. People, it's up to each of you to help our children through this cruel and torrid life, 'cause it's we who created the strife. Say, how many more times must carry this load? How many more times before we drop down Zion Road? Oh, how many more? How many more? How many more times? Hey, how many more? How many more? Oh, dear. Won't you hear my plea? I'm down on bended knees. Oh, yeah. How many more? How many more? I said I rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying. Another the mother shedding her tears. Oh, yeah. How many more? 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 Thank you. How many more?
Are you looking for the most affordable way to add electric cooling and heating to your older home? If that's the case, then you're
This next song I'm about to do is a song I wrote in 1989. And it also speaks about alienation. I hope this song would have gone away, but it seems to just be coming back and coming back again. It's a song I call 1990. So from the ghettos of Trinidad to the ghettos of LA, same story. Nuclear warhead, do I see it torn down? And there's an army in retreat. I see the old colonials of Europe now become united. And that word, perestroika, it fills the streets. I see the eagle sitting on the shoulder of the bear. Or maybe it's the other way around. Is this the calm before the hellfire? Or is our tomorrow really heaven bound? But 1990, the blood still flows in Bogota, and from Beirut to Johannesburg, the river don't stop. 1990, third world children still wander in their boats, in their jungles, in their deserts, until they dry. It is strange. The more we change, the more we rearrange. Everything just seems the same as we move into the next century. 1990, please make a liar of me. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 yeah, There is a black man on the run through a lonely Beijing street. There he goes. My God, he's running again. This time through Brooklyn, Howard Beach. And there he runs again through the streets of Soweto and Bensonhurst. And I'm saying, Lord, so the story goes. And the ghostly man from the past, they call him Selma, Alabama. He just shrugs and says, deja vu, I suppose. 1990, will our children stand firm?
strengthen the crime. It is strange. The more we change, the more we rearrange. Everything just seems the same as we move into the next century. 1990, please make a liar of me. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. LA's burning down. It reminds me of Harlem and what's in the 60s. Same problem, same country, and king. King is still the name. People shouting power, power to we the people, and equal rights and justice is still the game. I remember over 25 years ago, America stood up and said, this won't happen no more. Now you tell me, what have we become? Will the beast always defeat the beauty? Is this land just another house of the rising sun? 1990, will we see a tomorrow where our children will truly be free? 1990, is it joy, is it sorrow, as we move into the 21st century? I'm saying it is strange. The more we change, the more we rearrange. Everything stays the same as we move into the next century. 1990. Make a believer of me. Truly be free. House of the rising sun. 1990, will we see a tomorrow where our children will truly be free? 1990, is it joy, is it sorrow, as we move into the 21st century? I'm saying it is strange. The more we change, the more we rearrange. Everything stays the same as we move into the next century. 1990. Make a believer of me.
David Michael Rudder, 1990. Please make a believer of me. Before that, John King, how many more? How many more? How many more? How many more? Will we ever see a tomorrow where our children will truly be free? Where our children will be free to walk the streets of our Guyana? Will there be a tomorrow when the men in uniform will be our brothers? Where the men in uniform will look out for us and protect us? Will our children have to keep running and running and running from bullets? Will there be a tomorrow when we can say that there are no bullets with the names of our boys marked on them, waiting to be delivered to them? 2 years ago, another young man shot to death in Golden Grove, and our government said, this will not happen again. Again. 2 years later, it has happened again. The more we change, rearrange, everything seems the same. Will our children be handed $100,000 small change with one hand and the bullet with the other hand? How many more? How much longer will they say they love us and show their love with the sound of bullets mingling with the flesh and the bones of our future, our young, beautiful boys and girls? How many more? We've been dodging bullets from the shores of Africa through the Middle Passage. 400 years, 400 years. How many more? How many more? 12 years ago, I was there in Linden on that fateful day when 3 young black men were gunned down. And our government said, never again. This will not happen again. How many more? How many more? How much longer? When will this confounded nonsense stop? On Monday night, they delivered that lethal bullet that we know so well. Every time we hear the crack of a whip, our blood runs cold. On Monday night, they killed another jewel, snatched away from us by the hand of the state. Oh yes, another black brother pulled that trigger. But the intellectual author behind the fingers on that trigger sat in high places. And the next morning, he said, let us not turn this into a political thing. And a few hours later, another bullet rang through the air of Linden, scorching the flesh and the bones of another young, beautiful black man. How long? How much longer? We have not lived for 200 years, but we have seen 200 multiply by 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 of our boys slaughtered. We are not anti-police. We are the policemen and women. We are. There would be no police force in Guyana without the African labor, the African courage. We are not anti-police. And those policemen were not born to kill. They are our beautiful boys too. But the state, under this government, has turned them into gunslingers in bright daylight. Good evening to you all and welcome to Politics 101. Another day of mourning. And somebody says to the people of Linden, be calm, be calm. These people have not lost 2 sports cars. They've lost 2 sons, 2 fathers, 2 uncles, 2 souls, 2 children of God. I cannot in all conscience say to the people of Linden to be calm. I can't. Violence is not a natural order of things, but cowardice is also not a natural order of things. Somewhere in between force, violence, somewhere in between violence and cowardice lies the redemption of the human. How can we deny the people of Linden that space? The state, the government are not protecting them. They have to turn to their own inner self. The political party is not protecting them. In 12 years, 2012 to 2025, that small community that has given so much to this country, given so much to us, their labor, and we repay them by killing their young men. My guests tonight are 2 men who know all about what I'm talking about. In times like these, we turn to Paul Slowe. As we must, to help us make sense. This is beyond extrajudicial killing. This is state murder. State murder. My brothers, good night. Brother Paul, Brother Nigel, good night.
Good night. Let me see.
Greetings to
Yes,
you, Dr. Hines.
you all have seen me?
I'm seeing you
Yes,
pretty
I am
clearly.
seeing you, but my camera seems to be a bit blurred, so I'm trying to get that sorted out.
Okay, all right.
So you can clean the lens.
Yes. Brother Nigel, while we're waiting on Brother Paul, can you give us a sense of what's happening on the ground in Linden today? We know what happened on Monday night. We saw what happened yesterday. What has been happening there today?
Again, greetings to you, Dr. Hines, and of course to um, my brother, Mrs. Slowe, and all of the viewers. I am currently in Georgetown. I actually left Linden on the weekend. Since when we last spoke, Dr. Hines, I announced that my brother, my only brother, would have passed. So his funeral is on Saturday. So I have to come. I have to be here because I'm the only son left of my parents. I would have been out of town, but then I got the horrifying news about Ronaldo Peters. And then within 24 hours, yet another, the young man we all call Dan, he was murdered, as far as I'm concerned, by police officers. And when I called, because I'm always in contact with those on the ground, and I was speaking to them consistently. It has been a very unusual day in that, unlike 2012, many things have appeared to return to normalcy. And that's where the danger lies. Because persons have opted to have debris and other things removed. Many have gone back to trying to be normal again. And it shows how incredibly hard this is for Lindeners, where when some of the worst things are done to us, we still are expected within 24 hours to dust our clothes off and just return to a normal lifestyle. That to me is an even greater atrocity, that we're not given a minute, a day, a 3-day period, even try to meet as leaders to have a consistent dialogue with those who are responsible for this. But it's just expected that we return to a normal lifestyle as though nothing happened. And that was the feel within our community. The leaders were out today, others were out today trying to have the roads cleared and to repair some of the surfaces, just so that things can flow again within our town. And that is where we are at the moment. Persons are busy awaiting word. There's hope among many that this will be different from 2012, in that any investigation would be very, very expeditious and that they'll have responses as quickly as possible. I would like to say that I do not have that hope because I know who I'm dealing with.
Brother, those are two lives. You don't make them, you don't manufacture them in a factory. They are gifts from God. Brother Paul, let me turn to you. Here are what we are hearing. Policemen or men pulled up in a vehicle in plain clothes, ostensibly looking for a wanted man, apparently apprehended. Somewhere in between there, shot, pulled away, thrown in a vehicle, taken somewhere, he dies. Talk us through that. How do you move from being a wanted man who goes to work every day, comes from work, sits with your friends, and within minutes, you're dead? Walk us through. Help us connect dots.
Good night, Dr. Hines. Good night, Apostle London. Good night to all the viewers. Like, it's difficult to rationalize what really transpired. First of all, I take umbrage to this notion that the man was wanted. The fact that the police might want to question you in relation to the matter, you're not considered a wanted man. A wanted man is someone who has been fleeing from justice, who has been avoiding, I read today the definition, who have been avoiding the police. This doesn't appear to be so. From the very statement made by the police and the aunt of this young man who was killed, she said that the police called her and asked her, they used a false name, a wrong name was given. She corrected them and said, look, his name is Ronaldo. They said, look, bring him to the station tomorrow. The woman said, his aunt said, she then explained to them that she had to go to work, she could not bring him. They called the next time and said, tell him to come in. Cannot be a wanted man. He's not a wanted man. They weren't out actively looking for him. From all indication, all the report, that he was working on the very day of his demise on Monday. He was working someplace. So they weren't looking, there's no bulletin for him as such. The evidence doesn't suggest that he was avoiding the police or fleeing from the police. He wasn't hiding in any place. So I spoke about that because yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, or the night before, Starbrook News carried wanted man shot dead by police. And I have to try to correct that, give the right imagery in relation to that. Now, it would appear, as I alluded to, that some report was made against him. It is clear that the police did not consider this report serious enough to go hunting for him. They invited the mother to take him to the station. She could not have, the aunt rather, that. The next thing we hear, and remember, bear in mind that this incident is alleged to have occurred since December, sometime December, January. It's not something that just occurred and therefore there was this need to, all this time, December to now. Anyhow, it would appear, and based on the report from the police themselves, what they said, they received report that this young man was at a particular spot, half-mile Wismar or half-mile Linden or wherever it is. I'm not too familiar with the geography. The police issued a release shortly after the incident to say that following this receipt of this information, policemen dressed in uniform, that is what they said, that they were all dressed in uniform. They went to the scene where they saw him. He tried to run away. He was pursued by this Sergeant Kendall, right? He attempted to scale a fence. The sergeant then had a pistol in his right hand, attempted to pull him down off the fence, and the gun went off accidentally. He was shot somewhere in the stomach or that. That is what the police release said. Shortly thereafter, a video, a CCTV, closed-circuit TV footage came out, which showed that the police would give a false narrative as to what transpired. First, the men were not in uniform. None of them was in uniform. And then again, they're saying that there was no fence for this person to scale. And what is very, very upsetting, I looked at it, the time frame from the time you saw the police exited this black vehicle, black private vehicle, and ran behind this young man. Shortly thereafter, in less than a minute, this man is being dragged like an animal and placed in the vehicle and placed in this vehicle. Today again, another video came out showing another angle, another aspect of this thing. This thing is worrying. This is extremely, extremely worrying. And I've said repeatedly that the police corporate communication unit, I refer to them most times as a propaganda unit, should be in its current form, should be disbanded, because they come with all type of lies, and all they do is to reduce or to diminish whatever little credibility is left in the force, because no one believes what they say. This unit is headed by a civilian, Mark Ramatar, and obviously it would appear as though he has carte blanche to do whatever, to write whatever you want. I can't imagine that senior policemen are reviewing these releases before they are sent out. So something is definitely wrong. But based on what we saw, the man to say that the gun went off. Now, in my earlier days and even now, I had a reputation of being a competent firearm instructor. I trained people to use firearm. And therefore, I cannot understand if this man had a pistol. How is it that this pistol is going to go off accidentally? I cannot understand that. And as we say, and you have forgive me, listeners, we are saying that the only time you have an accidental discharge is when men are sleeping in the night. They have accidental discharge. That's the only time. You have to apply a considerable amount of pressure on a trigger of any firearm to get it discharged. So what is happening here? I can't understand. I can't explain. But what I see is a clear act of homicide. And I use it in broad term. Not necessarily murder, not necessarily manslaughter. I'm saying homicide. The killing of a human being by another human being. They have said investigations and all of that. I guess we're going to deal with that a little later.
Pastor Apostle London, you live in that community. I don't know if you know this young man personally, but you live in the community. Brother Slowe has given us there the expert analysis of what likely happened, what obviously did not happen, what could not happen.
Right.
All right? Now, talk to us from a community standpoint. We are hearing things that this sergeant is known to the community. He has a reputation in the community. We are hearing that the young man who was killed did not have a terrible reputation. He was not a criminal. He wasn't any of those things. Talk to us. Give us the community perspective on what could have happened, what happened there.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. The young man is a face with whom I'm familiar, but not one with whom I would have spoken to probably quite often, if at all. But I know his face pretty well. The police officer, the sergeant, is one who I also know. And based on what is being said to me, as I said, I'm speaking to people just about throughout the day about these matters. He was there in 2012. And that became very interesting to me. That he was one of those who participated in the issue of the bridge and so on, the uprising as they call it, in 2012. The other police officer, I'm told, who shot and killed Dan, they said was also there in 2012. That to me is also concerning, and I'm trying to ascertain the facts regarding that. But as a community, Linden, we're not known for being very violent people. I don't know why people perceive we're just crazy people. Lindeners are known to react to things in a manner when as in this case, the police seek to make an idiot out of an entire community. I can tell you that had they come forward on that said night to say that they're very sorry from Hicken right down, we apologize. This is really something that really went out of hand. And Kendall is arrested, not close arrest. And I think that Assistant Commissioner, retired Mrs. Slowe will speak to this. I'm bothered as a Guyanese to hear about this close arrest concept where the police just throw it out there. His actions lent themselves to him being arrested and placed as an ordinary civilian. That's my viewpoint. I'm telling you how Linders feel about this matter. And we could have said, okay, well, let's see, at least he'd be remanded or put before the court and another thing would happen. None of that happened. Instead, they sought to insult us and insult our intelligence to say that this young man was running from the police, he was wanted and all the rest of it, and the gun went off accidentally. When we saw the footage, people became upset. But what was worse is when we saw the statement issued by the Guyana police force. That is what really got people upset. And I made certain phone calls and I said, this is going to cause a problem. The moment you seek, if there's CCTV footage, and then you've got this nonsense coming from the police force to try to insult listeners, we shall react. It's expected that we should react because you're making a mockery out of a situation here and trying to cover it up from the beginning. And just as I said, within a few hours in the next day, action started because I am saying, and I will say this without reservation, the Guyana police force have demonstrated to us on many occasions in Linden that it appears as if when it comes to Lindeners, the first line of action is to be aggressive and to harm us. They show up to us with assault rifles, with AK-47s. Even if your hands are carrying nothing in them, the police show up to you with guns and in some cases, highly powerful ones. That's our experience in Linden. I carried many stories of young men. The police said they're wanted. That's a new talk. They're wanted. So because you're wanted, you show up with an AK-47. A young man was sitting with his friends, nothing in his hand. What did the police come with? 2 or 3 of them with AK-47s and shot the young man. Fortunately, he's still alive. But look at what we're dealing with in Linden. Roseman made a statement that police officers stop walking around Linden or wherever with assault rifles. You don't have to be so heavily armed when you go to encounter civilians. They did it yesterday again. They did it the day before yesterday. So as a community, we are on edge when it comes to police officers because they seem to be sending many of those who have every intention to harm us. And that triggered an expected response.
Brother Slowe, the close arresting, as Apostle requested, I would ask you to deal with. But I want you to then take us from the night. This young man is killed. Some form of acknowledgement, whether it's close arrest or arrest, happened. If you're the police force, you're the policemen there, are you not expecting in our environment that there could be some protests and demonstration the next day? And if so, what would be the instruction that would be given to the policemen and women there on the ground? Talk to us.
Let me deal with this close arrest thing first. Now, the Police Discipline Act, Chapter 17:01, speaks to a rank being placed under close arrest and by whom that person can be placed under close arrest. The offenses for which the person can be placed under close arrest are stated in the Act. They are disciplinary offenses that come under the Police Discipline Act. Insubordination, if you're intoxicated to such an extent as to be incapable of performing your duty. There are about 4. I can't remember all of them now, right? It's clear when a person can be placed under close arrest. If a rank is being investigated, as in this case for homicide, it's not close arrest. The person should be arrested. The person should be arrested. And I would not suggest that the person should be confined to a cell with other prisoners, but arrested and confined to some location. And when you're arrested, your freedom is taken away. That is what an arrest means. You're relieved of your liberty when you're arrested. But to say, and we have been speaking about this, myself and Mr. Clinton Conway, former Assistant Commissioner of Police, we have been saying it. They're misusing the term, telling people about close arrest, when there's no provision under any law for a person to be placed under, a policeman to be placed under close arrest under those circumstances. Now to go on to the police action. Again, I gave this thing a lot of thought. This incident occurred, right? It has to do with training. It has to do with the entire administration, the government has to be blamed. You can't have policemen running around with guns and they're not properly trained. If they misuse it, you are liable. The administration, the force administration, the government is liable. Can't escape blame in that case. So, all right, this incident occurred. The incident occurred Monday night. The initial action, I believe, by the commander was excellent. He came out, he interacted with people, he was reassuring them that an investigation would be done. That is Assistant Commissioner Simon. He came out there, I saw him out there, and he was speaking to the people. That is what you have to do. You have to speak to the people, which he did. But after that, as I said, you ought to have a proper meeting to plan, because you have to reasonably anticipate that people are going to come out and demonstrate the next day. And this is where police headquarters as well will get involved. You come up with some operational plan. I made the point. You have what we call KPs and VPs, key points and vulnerable points. In anticipation of some demonstration, you might want to have what we call patrols to observe what is going on. And the most important part of this whole operation overnight, you have got to instruct the police to exercise maximum restraint. Because this is a case where a man is shot and killed, a young man is shot and killed. A young man is shot and killed. Do you not expect people are going to demonstrate? And if they demonstrate, how can you then react by using more force, by using force and killing the next person? I mean, this is difficult to understand. The ranks on the ground should have been told. This should have been clear instructions. Maximum restraint. And only in extreme circumstances should you use force, and not lethal force. Not lethal force. Because if you're talking about the Public Order Act, if you're talking about the drill, as I know it, to deal with situations such like that, you have to use minimum force. Minimum force. And there's nothing that I saw there yesterday on the live that suggests that maximum force was required. Because even when the people threw bricks and bottles, that does not require maximum force, lethal force. No. That is, even when a policeman is injured, because I understand that the commissioner put up photograph in a chat group to show that this policeman was injured. In other words, trying to justify the use of lethal force cannot be justified in those circumstances. And I'm speaking from a position where, and many people will know, I used to be in charge of the TSU. In 1992, October the 5th, the day that it's called Return to Democracy, what the people is called, I am the police officer who went on the road and dealt with the people who were rioting, and nobody was killed. Because that is not the training. Minimum force. You talk about tear smoke, you talk about baton and try to arrest people. That is what should be done. And you know, this thing is appalling, you know. Because as I've said, I trained police officers in the Public Order Act, Chapter 1603. It tells you about meetings and processions, how to deal with those things. I am trained, and I train people to deal with riots and similar offenses, how you deal with them. And the act, the Criminal Law Act 801, I think it's from chapter section 307 to 314, speaks to how situations like that should be handled. They talk about warnings. No warning, I didn't see. They didn't even go out there with a bullhorn to warn the people to disperse or anything like that. They didn't even go, so they weren't even prepared to do that. No, Bullard, and I know part of the training too, you're supposed to have a big button before you go into lethal, before you go into fire, to warn people, so in case those people can't air because of the knives, it is held upright. You say disperse or we may fire. None of that. None of that. So they went from 0 straight to whatever is the maximum speed limit without this gradual build-up that should be there. Warn the people. Look, again, I am so disturbed by what I saw, which speaks to a total lack of training, at all the levels that we saw there yesterday on the ground, at all the levels. There was this fire. I don't know, I couldn't see that where the fire was lit, that it was obstructing traffic. I can't see that lives were threatened, property was threatened. They come out with this nonsense release that they were destroying infrastructure. People put in fire on the road in those circumstances, and the road is going to be damaged. Is that justification for killing people? That is what they're suggesting. And as Apostle Linden said, these nonsensical statements that they make only aggravate the situation. That is what it does. It aggravates because the fire is there. And out of the blues, the policemen are advancing towards this fire where the people were on the other side of the fire. What was the aim? What was the plan? What was it? There was no fire tender. They hadn't anything to say they were going to put out the fire. In any event, there was no need to advance to say you're putting out the fire. Exercise maximum restraint. Then all of a sudden, and they can't operate in this environment where you have cameras and everybody is a cameraman, right? So all of a sudden shots rang out, and you can hear the reporters, they're shooting, and you look, there's no reason for them to shoot. They are shooting, and I want to know who gave the instructions for them to shoot, because that person is liable too. Who gave instructions? What was the plan when they went out there? Who briefed them? Who briefed them? Who armed them? Because this is not telling letting tales out of school, but in a situation like that, and let me clarify this, because people say, well, you shouldn't go with guns and all of that. You have to go with guns because you don't know where it will end.
Wow.
But then you have minimum force doctrine. You have the minimum force doctrine. And it will appear, I showed today some of the cartridge casings, it was appear that they use shotgun. But it would also appear that the shotgun that they use the inappropriate and incorrect loads. Because in a public order situation like that, you go with shotgun and you use what we call board shots. And you have to be trained to fight from a particular distance so no one is seriously injured and killed. But it would appear when I saw the injury that Dan sustained, that's not board shots injuries. There's if it is from a shotgun, it is slugs they use. And you can't do that in a public order situation. The same thing they did in 2012 that killed those 3 people. The same type of ammunition they use. It looked like they go back to, yesterday and they use the same type of ammunition again. Upsetting. And the sad part too is that the commissioner of police was on the ground in 2012. He was the commander when those 3 people were killed. And he now is there as commissioner. Something like this would have been reported to him Monday night. Wait, he can't use his experience from 2012 to caution them how they should operate on this occasion. And somebody said, someone of the social commentators calling for the commander to be removed and demoted and all of that. And I say, if you're going to take that type of action against the commander, what happened to the commissioner? What happened to the Minister of Home Affairs? That they are ultimately responsible.
Yeah. Apostle Linden, I'm a veteran. I used to be on the road during the Burnham days, which people call the bad days. And you went out there, sometimes children. I was a child myself because I was a teenager, 17, 18, 16. You expected the tear gas. I don't think in those days we even expected pellets. But you didn't expect them to shoot into a crowd that was alien to us, and those we consider those days to be terrible days, and the PPP tell us those were the worst days. You just didn't anticipate that the police would shoot into a crowd, tear gas. Yes. Often we even went out there with wet rag and wet thing and so on,
Yeah.
But it never entered our mind that the police would shoot into a crowd. My colleague Takuma Ogunse always make that point. The police never shot at him on the Burnham, but the police have shot at him under the PPP. Talk to us here, my brother. You're an educator, among other things. Talk to us here about the psychology behind law and order under this government. Why is
Dr.
it that
Hines.
police feel so emboldened as, Brother Slowe says, you go there, that you're going to shoot into a crowd?
Dr. Hines. Dr. Hines.
Yes.
And my brother, Assistant Commissioner, if you listen to a police officer, on average, a young one, if you hear him speak without, even in uniform, just off the record, and you have someone who they call a thug or scrapehead and all these some use of these boys now, if you put the two of them in a room and you hear a conversation, you not know who's the police and who's the gangster or the robber or the murderer. I'm making a very important point. The way many of these young police officers speak and act when they're out of uniform at times, you would swear that they're not policemen. It goes very deeply in reference to the psyche of these young men nowadays who are entering the police force, and I don't even like the term force. And the decorum, the way they conduct themselves, they don't handle themselves as though they are officers to be respected. They behave as if they're people who have been vested with so much power and protection by law that they can do what they want to do to you. And so when you have them interacting with, and I've heard them and seen them in many occasions, it's times when they may have schoolmates and so on and people in the community, and they have a beef, a little issue. And you hear these policemen how they behave, and the only advantage they have is that they know they have a weapon that's given to them, issued to them, a service weapon, maybe that they have to use when they're working. And they also have the protection in reference to the uniform. But they know different from certain characters. So when these same officers, some of them head to the streets, in their minds, they ought to just do whatever they want to do. Additionally, with the likes of Clifton Hicken, and I make an apology for this, and Robeson Ben, I don't expect anything different from them. Even some other officers who call senior officers in this Ghana police force, I cannot expect anything different from these young men. Because if they're led by people who are not only incompetent, but who are, to some extent, totally uncaring about human safety, I don't expect anything different from these people. And so when the young man, when Ronaldo was shot on Monday, I would expect that given the nature of Linden and Hicken's experience, he should have been, as he would have done in other instances, he should have been on Facebook or something or wherever it is, speaking to this matter. He should have been addressing the community. Said, we have terrible experiences in the past, Linden. Let's not return to this. We're going to deal with Mr. Kendall to the fullest extent of the law. Give us all the flowery speeches, but give assurance that you are familiar with the situation and you're going to act on it. If Finale jumps through Facebook broadcasts and people say certain things that upset him, but he couldn't broadcast that night about what happened in Linden. So there are many things that were transpiring and that would have been causing to brew very aggressive behaviors. But in the minds of many of these young police officers, many of them, they are no different from what people call criminals. So when they act in a criminal manner, it doesn't surprise me. Because every so often I have to remind them, Dr. Hines, when I'm driving and so on, that you don't do this. Imagine me, a civilian, having to tell a police officer, according to the law, you can't do that. They try to tell me on some occasions in other places, I can take you to the station. So I said, for what? You just can't take me anywhere. Sometimes they invite me to the station. I said, I declined the invitation. It's a birthday party we're having. But they're untrained. And they think that force works. They approached me with a surface weapon, with a revolver. And I said to them, why you have a weapon? Come talk to me. Do I appear to be armed to you? Why do you come to approach me with a weapon and the first thing you want to do is put your hand on the weapon? These are my experiences with many officers. So the issue has a lot to do with the educational level, but more so the general demeanor. And that's why the young men in the community react to them the way they do, because they behave that way on a normal basis.
Brother Paul, I have noted in the past that you say you joined the police force 1974 now.
Yep, 1974, yes. 4th of March.
So you would have grown up in the police force when people like myself were on the road. And we're talking here about politicization of the police force, because I think that's what we are seeing playing out here. As a policeman, when you are out there, you're dealing with a crowd. How do you balance policing and political expectations? Because the politician doesn't have to be there to tell the policeman, shoot, 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 shoot. In the policeman's head, what I'm trying to get here is, as a young police officer, you're out there, you're a sergeant, you're a corporal, etc. So you're out there, you're dealing with a crowd in a charged political environment. You're a policeman. You have to do policing work, but you are aware of the politics of the situation. How do you work that through? Talk to us, Paul Slowe. How do you work that through, if it could be worked out at all? What do you do as a young police officer?
Well, first of all, it has to, let me say this. I spent my first 19 of my 37 years at the Tactical Services Unit, the Riot Squad. Mm-hmm. So we were trained to deal with public order issues, crowd control, and situations like what occurred. We were trained to do that. So I have a lot of knowledge of what the training is. And they have not deviated. Well, they don't train now, but the principles and the policies have not changed any dramatically. So what happens? In a situation like that, you go out, and as I've said, you have protocols to follow. Mm-hmm. And you would have been briefed under no circumstance that you should go and you should shoot. If it comes to any shooting or any use of force, it has to be directed by the person in charge. Mm-hmm. And in many cases, you have to report what is going on. All that is extremely violent, because you have communication with headquarters and all of that. Mm-hmm. And you're briefing them as to whether the situation is deteriorating, whether you need support, and all of that, right? Because as I've said today, there's a doctrine of minimum force. And it tells you that the minimum force can be the maximum show of personnel. So like in the situation yesterday, maybe you want to saturate the people with patrols and so on, to take control of the ground, so to speak, especially like the bridge. You have to take control because it's a vulnerable point. And right. Therefore, you have to anticipate that based on previous experiences, people might go to block the bridge. You can't wait until people block and then put fire, and then you're going to use shoot at people and all of that. So we were taught that you have to be, it's a control arrangement. Nobody can go out there Wild West and shooting. There are specific type of ammunition and so on you use so that you don't kill people. When it comes to shooting, if it became necessary, the training, you train how that should be done as well. Is there no indiscriminate shooting? And what I ordered yesterday, gunfire flying like Wild West, like if they're there in Baghdad or some one of these war areas. That is not the training as I know it. That is not the training. And as you said, the political environment, I don't think you will realize, for example, yesterday, you have to be aware, because I saw yesterday in the ground a superintendent, a senior officer, and another officer. Now, to get to those ranks long ago, you have to be well aware of what is going on, mm-hmm. well aware of your environment. Mm-hmm. And you would have been aware that if certain actions are taken, it can cause the matter to escalate. Mm-hmm. And therefore, people throwing bottles and so on at you, then you might want to retreat, because as I've said, lives weren't threatened, property wasn't threatened. And therefore, all of those things are consideration. But you can't just go out. And let me say this, because I experienced that. When you go on the ground, as a man, as the incident commander, as this superintendent was yesterday, nobody can give you instructions on the ground as to what to do. You have got to make the determination what is the correct action to take. You on the ground have to take that. And again, you have to be aware. If you do this, what likely to happen? If you do that, what likely to happen? Yeah, you're going to have a briefing before, and therefore the senior people might tell you certain things. But when you get on the ground, you have got to make the appreciation, and you have got to take the appropriate action. Nobody can call you and tell you, say, well, you must shoot, and then you just shoot. At the end of the day, you have to answer. Because we tell them over and over, I say, there's something called the Nuremberg trial, which occurred after World War II, where it is said, and that is something that they must know, that you cannot be compelled to carry out an unlawful order. So even if it's the president, even if the commissioner gives you an order, and it is unlawful, you are within your right to decline. You don't want to use the word decline advisedly, because in 2003 rather, when I had a run-in with Jagdeo and Gadraj, when Gadraj ordered me, my lawyer, the late great Peter Britton, asked me to write a statement. Well, I wrote a statement, and then I said that when the minister gave me certain instructions, illegal instructions, I refused. And he looked at it, he said, well, just change the word refuse to decline. So I declined. It's semantics, but how it's come over that. So even when you're there, you decline, because it's unlawful. And you can only know that it's unlawful if you know the law. Because if you don't know the law, whatever is told to you, you believe that you have to carry it out, and you end up in trouble. And it is interesting, as I've said, one can expect an investigation to be done. And I have made note of several points. President said RSS is going to conduct this investigation.
Yes, go right ahead and speak to the investigation, because that's
what authority they have. What authority would the RSS have to conduct an investigation in Guyana? They're talking wild. And I understand on the program today, people are saying they were already here. What authority are they imbued with to conduct an investigation in Guyana? What? The Police Complaints Authority Act, Chapter 17:02, says that if somebody is, well, not only shot and killed, but if a person dies as a result of police action, the Police Complaints Authority by law has to supervise that investigation. That is what the law says. So the president and all them jump out, and they're making all type of statements, and people, to pacify people, I guess. But many of those things don't have any legal footing and standing. I made the point today that if they were on top of things from as early as Monday night, the investigators, whether they're coming from town, wherever they're coming from, as early as Monday night, because there's a golden period where things are fresh in people's mind. They want to know who are the other people there, what transpired, so you can get statement from them. The longer you wait, people are going to forget. Then you can't even find those who are there. So one would have expected Monday night, you would have started that investigation by taking statement. One would have expected too, because that scene where that young man was shot is a crime scene. So one would have expected it would have been cordoned. You look for evidence, right? Because if you had done that, then they would not have perhaps come out with this mendacious statement, what people in civilian clothes, people in uniform, because they would have seen that there were CCTV cameras there. You're going to retrieve the footage and to see what takes place. You can't just run with what the sergeant and those men tell you. So you have to take statement. You have to cordon the area. You have to gather evidence, conduct a proper investigation. You have to, well, that's for Monday night. This is Monday night. You have to make sure yesterday, I don't know if they've done that yet, but I'm telling them, I just give them pre-advice. Who were the men on the ground? All of those names should be there. Who are the men? What were they armed with? Each and every person. Who are the ones that fired? Because when they had the Linden matter in 2012, Commissioner then was Bromell. Called me for some guidance and advice. And I told him, I said, look, Make sure you know who are the men on the ground. Make sure you know how they were armed, how much, what rifle, what pistol, what revolver, how many rounds they were armed with. Because I told him something which proved to be true. I said, because let's understand, and this is some experience. Those men go out there, policemen go out on duty. Let's say they go out with 10 rounds. They fire 3-4 rounds. People dead. Trust me, when they come back, they're handing in the same amount that they went out with. Let me repeat that. They go out with 10. Let's say they shoot 2, 3. When they return, because somebody dead and they don't want trouble, nobody and shoot. Nobody and shoot. And they're going to hand in the same amount. You don't ask me where they're going to get it from. But that was about to ask you. Don't ask where they're going to get it from. Right? They're going to do that. So you as an investigator, you as a senior police officer, you have to be aware of that. You have to seize all those firearms that were there should be large. Because again, nobody going to admit that they shoot. Mm-hmm. Nobody is going to admit that they shoot when a man died, and you have a section 100. In case you don't know what section 100, that is under the Criminal Offences Act. Section 100 deals with murder. Or as these scraphead police, as exactly use the thing, they're going to get a red rum. And they're going to, that is what this is the tag, they're going to get a red rum. And when they talk about red rum spelled backward is murder. Right? So they're going to get a red rum. Right? So these are things that the commanders and these people have to be aware of. They got to be aware of. A proper investigation got to start. I can't see any real credible investigation being done now when you never secure the crime scene Monday night. Perhaps you don't even know who are the people there. Some people might come and give you false information and all that. You have to take command immediately, and that falls on the lap of the commissioner of police. You have to, not the minister, because this is an operational matter, even though he believes that he's operational. Commissioner got to get involved, and he got to, who are the people, who's the most senior investigator we have there? No. Identify investigators to travel Monday night, even if you got to call them out. Go to Linden now and deal with this matter. Right? Go to Linden, find out. And if you get seasoned investigator, they will know exactly what they have to do. Go and get eyewitnesses to what transpired. Eyewitnesses, very important. And from the footage and all, there would have been many eyewitnesses. Many eyewitnesses. So, as I said, it's very upsetting. The very aunt who made statements about police, calling them, all of that, you got to get statement from all these people. The man, they said the man was working on Monday. You got to go and find out if this is true, when he's working, who he was working with, how often has he been coming to work, so that you get a full picture of what transpired. You have the police issuing a statement that wanted man shot and killed by police, and you run with that. It has to be a thorough investigation. Let me say this before I close this aspect. I am not confident that the RSS and the police can do an investigation which is credible and which satisfies people. I'm not confident in that. I'm not going to say this now, because like other cases, I think they're going to react to public sentiment, and they might very well try to pacify and file charge, and it can't stand up any place. Right? Just to say that, well, we charge, and that is what is going on. That is what is going on. We charge.
Doctor, yeah.
Like the Queen.
Let me please.
Because, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, but Mr. Sloan, Dr. Hines. But I want to.
That's all right.
It's important for me to infuse here very critical information, because when they said there were men in uniform, there's another video that came out, and that's I'm saying it's so important to this discussion here. Another video surfaced today, and in that video, when they opened the door of the bus, there were 2 other officers, at least 2, who were clad in uniform, but they were in this fully tinted vehicle, very dark tint. They threw Ronaldo on the floor of the bus, and the 2 officers were pinning him down, and he was moving. He was fixing his clothes. He was that conscious.
Yeah.
He was that conscious. So there were 2. The one who went out, Kendall, he had maybe it's just his black pants on, but he wasn't clad in any shirt. But when he got into the vehicle, when he dumped the young man into the vehicle, he was alive and the young man was moving. They closed the door and sped off. And the next encounter we have with Ronaldo is that he's dead. This is so critical because the other two in the bus and the driver, we don't know who they are. All we hear about is Kendall. But there were at least 4 people on the scene, Kendall and 3 others at least, who are yet to be known. And who they aren't even saying that the others are under close arrest, which is nonsense to me in the first place. They're not mentioning any arrests for the other people, but they were present. A young man, Mr. Slowe, was on the scene sitting with Ronaldo, and he started, and the proprietor, he started saying exactly what transpired. So without there being even an investigation, persons began to speak as we would expect on social media. And the young man was saying exactly what happened. No guns slipped anywhere because guns don't slip and do things on their own like that, as you rightly said.
Well,
Additionally,
Pascal.
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. You go ahead.
Okay,
You go ahead. Continue. Finish
right.
your thought.
Now, right. So the next morning, and this is the tie into what you're saying as well, Mrs. Lowe. The people started light fires. If you're familiar, I'd make you familiar with Linden, familiar as much as I can. In Wisma, there are 2 roads. They're almost parallel to each other. There's an inner road called the Canvas City Road, and then there's the main road, which is the highway. Winifred Gaskin Road. That's the way it connect to the road to Mabura. The young men lit the fires on the inner road. It was not any main road. So there were many other ways to go about your business. Let's get this clear. They lit a little fire and they started making noise and said, well, the police issue statements and they're disrespecting us, so we come here to protest. That's the young men were saying. The policemen showed up and began to be aggressive on the inner road. In reference to how they were behaving. So people say, you know what? We going out to the main road then. Let's go to the main road and take Jackson somewhere else. They didn't go to the bridge yet. As you rightly said, they didn't go to the bridge. And I believe, I'm saying this, hopefully it's not the case, but I believe that given the knowledge that the PPP has, that Clifton Hicken has, that Robeson Ben has, they knew exactly what would have ended up at the bridge, that it would have ended up there. And they let it happen. That's what I feel at this moment. Because they knew that at some point, if it escalates, Lindeners like to head to the bridge. They did not secure that point. They did not do anything to secure the bridge or prevent anyone from getting there. My question to them is why? My response to myself is it could be that you wanted them to go there. Because we know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But this action didn't start at the front road as people tried to make it appear. These boys, when they lit that little fire with some wooden tires, I even said to the policemen, leave them alone. The fire will burn out after a point. The men would express themselves. You go and engage them and talk to them in the best of manner. Because there wasn't any crowd there. That was early in the morning. They refused to listen to basic advice. Basic, just leave them. They're upset. We know they're mad. Their friend got killed. He was murdered or whatever term you want to use. He was killed by a police officer in a most unjustifiable way. Leave them. They didn't do that. So somebody was egging these policemen on to do more than they were doing. Further to that, and Mr. Slowe, young men, I know them. They said, and it's on social media, but I know them. You know what they said? And the people told me, the police in Linden were, because the 2 sets of police you have to talk about, they cannot be joined here. 2 different sets of people. The Lindeners were telling them, listen, man, we just got instructions to shoot to kill. Y'all run, or we try to shoot over your head. But these other fellas here were instructed to shoot and kill y'all. And Dan went down. Live rounds were fired. So police from Linden, who were stationed there, were trying to save Lindeners.
Mm-hmm.
I say, y'all move. The people want to shoot and kill. They told us it's kill. My question from day before to now is, who told you to shoot and kill? I know it couldn't come from somebody in Linden. So I'm happy that Mr. Slowe is here.
Yeah.
And I don't sound like a madman anymore. Because I ask all of these questions all the time. Who instructed you to do this? Because I used to run for the Ghana Police Force. I was an athlete. So I know exactly from interacting with them how things are supposed to go way from then. You don't have instructions from just an ordinary man shooting kill people in a crowd.
Brother Slowe, we have had so many instances of this development in recent times. Boston, Peter Headley, Quindon Bacchus. Given everything that you know about those incidents, are where do we go from here? And I also want you to address what seems to be a constant, which is get the family. The government gets the family, talks to the family behind closed doors. Um, Talk us through those two scenarios, given what you know about the cases that I mentioned, especially the Boston and the Quindon Bacchus case. What happens from here, and also address what could they be telling those family members behind closed doors.
Well, let me start with the last one first. They're gonna tell them that we're gonna do a thorough investigation. We're gonna offer assistance with the burial and all of that. In this case, they would have told them we bring in independent investigators and that. But I'm saying a critical part of this whole thing, people are suggesting that after this young man was shot, well, of course, we didn't see them trying to render any forced aid or anything like that, right? That he wasn't taken immediately to get medical attention. That is what is being alleged. And therefore, as an investigator, now that a camera, a video footage has surfaced, I am sure that thing might very well have a timestamp on it. When this incident occurred, the hospital ought to have records to show when the person was taken there.
Yes.
So coming out of that, you will get an appreciation as to how fast or how long they took to take this man to get medical attention. And that is a critical part of this whole thing, because people are saying that when this incident occurred after Kendall accidentally, they claim, shot this man, people are alleging that they drove around and they did not go immediately to get medical attention. Because as Apostle Linden is saying, I saw the other video which surfaced today, and you could see that the man was alive in the vehicle. You saw him moving. I saw that. I looked at it several times, and I saw that. Now, in relation to the others, as I've said, what is going to happen? They're going to tell you this investigation is going to be done. I have a strong suspicion that they already decide who they're going to charge and what they're going to charge for. And then they're going to move with speed. They're going to move with alacrity. Today is Wednesday. So sometime by early next week, you're going to hear somebody get charged and so on. All that is going to be done to pacify the crowd. Whether they did a proper investigation to gather evidence that can sustain the conviction is another issue. That is another issue. The meeting there last night by the president, it's a script. The script is there. They have a script. You're going to come, you're going to sympathize, you offer condolences, and you're going to tell them we will leave no stone unturned. We're going to get to the bottom of this. And all those who are culpable will be held accountable. All that. We call it in the country Salawala. Just Salawala. Right? That is what we refer to it as in the country. But unless and until the basic issues in terms of training and all of these things are addressed, you're going to come back to the same place. Because again, I say, the people on the ground might have pulled the trigger. But what training, in other parts of this world, other parts of the world, an investigation would have gone into all of that, not only what occurred at Linden, identify the people responsible, what type of training they went through, how long they were in training, were they trained to use these proper firearms. I can tell you that, and Apostle Linden, as a young firearm instructor, because that's how they said, that's how I cut my teeth in the force. Drills and musketry, teaching people to march, teaching people to shoot. Right? You had records. I had to go to court on at least 2 occasions at the magistrate court where policemen shot people, injured them, or killed them. I, as a firearm instructor, had to go to court to give evidence in relation to the type of training that they went through. But them things don't go on now. I tell people, and this is, but as a young sergeant, I was a firearm instructor. The great late J.O.F. Ains was the chancellor. And he had to be issued with a firearm, a revolver, them days, snub-nose revolver. And I was told to take it to him. When I took it to the same appeal court building there, I sat him down and I had to lecture to him about the use of the firearm, the J.O.F. Ains, when it should be fired and all of that. I had to take him through the paces. When I'm finished, he asked me, he said, "Are policemen taught all of this?" I said, "Yes, sir. This is a standard training." He said, "Well, from now on, I'm going to look at these matters differently because the training is comprehensive." I don't know the policemen, and not only policemen, people carrying firearms, walking around this place, assault rifles, shotgun, revolver, pistol. That many of them, I would say about 90% or more of them, don't have the proper training. They don't. There are rules as to when you may fire, which I learned since then. You and I telling people like Robeson and Nikin and all of these people, who is the operation man? Go around the place randomly, see a policeman with a firearm, call him, ask him when you are. We call it when you may fire. Let him tell you when he is allowed to shoot. It's trouble. And if you don't know that, how you're taking firearm, and Mr. Conway made the point this morning on my program that back in the day, and it is so true, when you went to uplift a firearm, very rare, a revolver, the person in charge, right, would read the fire orders we call to you. Read. You have to have it written in your pocket memorandum book, the fire order. And then when you leave to go on duty, they would make an entry in the station. That fire order, standing order, so was read and explained to this constable, and he said that he understood. All of those things have gone through the window, and that is why you find people running out there and shooting when it is not justified. Ask the same Sergeant Kendall, a sergeant of police, to tell you what the fire order say as to when you should shoot. How is it that a sergeant tell you that a gun went off accidentally and all that type of crap? You know, it's very disheartening. And as I've said, a proper investigation would not only end with what transpired at Linden Monday night and yesterday, but it will go further to see the system which allowed something to happen. The system. What type of training these people go through? What type of, first of all, look at the mentality and all of that of these people. Because we are hearing that this sergeant misconducted himself and then he sent back. He was removed. You see, all of these things you want to find out. Why was he removed? Why is he sent back? Why is it that he died in civilian man boss to say he going behind this man? All of that. Why is he in civilian clothes going to say he running behind this person? And then to tell us this nonsense, but the gun went off accidentally. Rubbish.
Pastor Apostle London, we are running short on time. Your closing thoughts, and then Mr. Paul Slowe, your closing thoughts as we close off this chapter.
Again, thank you, Dr. Hines. Thank you so much. And I must say thanks to my brother, Mr. Slowe, for, again, allowing the public to see that I am not entirely insane, because I've been saying so many things that were echoed tonight or presented to us. And more so to have Mr. Slowe present the law very clearly is certainly refreshing to me. I would say, again, that I am quite concerned about the fact that Irfan Ali and anybody else could just go to Linden to say, well, just stop doing this, and make some very significant promises to people, the family members, that is. They're going to put the bill for the funeral, they'll take care of people's children and all the rest of it, and making secret phone calls to family members. I'm aware of all this happening. And from the top right down, they're calling and they're saying, just ease up, because they don't want any issue. And more than that, I would like to say that what matters to the PPP is that their supporters would have, most of them, have to go through Linden in reference to those who do trucking. So they just want the bridge to be open, the road to be open, so business can return to normalcy. That's all. They don't care about anybody. I know what they do. As long as they block the access to the bridge, then it becomes a problem. They would shoot you to hell and back. If the bridge is blocked, they'll take your business then. But as long as the bridge is not blocked, the police can do anything they want you off the road side. So we know that there's a danger here in reference to our well-being in Linden, because it has become business for the PPP, not taking care of us. Additionally, when it comes to this investigation that Ali is speaking about, or anybody else, I would like to first of all see Clifton Hicken be fired because he wouldn't resign. Since he had experience before and he was very knowledgeable of what's happening in Linden, he has to go. Robeson Ben does not deserve to be anything close to Commissioner Home Affairs Minister. So we need to see action taken, not just with Kendall and the others who are with him, or with the other man who shot Dan, because Dan would not be forgotten. They're people who have to be removed and they have to be held accountable. And Lindeners, I would like to say finally, we should not have removed ourselves from the streets. We can de-escalate our actions, but not remove a person. We should be present because I don't trust anything called investigation in this matter. The laws in Ghana that dictate, as you heard rightly from Mrs. Slowe, what should happen. They weren't followed. So we should not just recuse ourselves to our homes and go back to normalcy and say, well, they shot and killed two of us. No. We should remain protesting until answers are given to us. And answers that, of course, Mrs. Slowe could have been a resource person for us in Linden, and we have regional chairman and others. Mrs. Slowe, I know he would, I hope he would not object to that. So when they try and tell us something, we have Mrs. Slowe on the ground saying, okay, then, no, this doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. We don't accept that. So he becomes our resource person and he represents our interests. That's what we need. We just kind of back away because Ali said to go or people said stop and we just leave the situation alone. They're two young men, not one, two, within 24 hours. The others were also injured.
Mm-hmm.
We should not let this just go by and say, well, let them use the road. It's normal. It's not normal until justice is served. It's not normal until we understand that the correct course of action is taken and we shall not be treated as though we're just wild animals. That's my viewpoint and it remains my conviction because the system has failed us and the system has people and players in it who should not be there any longer. Hicken is number one. Thank you so much, Dr. Hine.
Always a pleasure. Mr. Paul Slowe, your closing thoughts?
I thank you for this opportunity, Doc. What I want to say is that I would be interested to know the scope of the investigation. This is not the ordinary, should not be an ordinary investigation, really, as I've said before, where they go and they investigate the shooting Monday night and again what took place yesterday. It has to be, the scope has to be much wider than that. It has to be wider. Or if it's not wider, this is going to happen again. We have had so many incidents. You refer to right at Linden. Can you imagine? A mere 12 years ago, 3 persons were killed. And what, they have not learned anything. So my fear is that you do a investigation, a perfunctory investigation, and shortly after we get back. Because I keep saying that we're into the silly season where elections are due sometime this year. They're going to be meetings. They're likely to be processions. And if the policemen are not properly trained, and if they are taking orders, I'm not saying that is what happened on this occasion, but if they're taking orders from politicians, which we know that they do, and they're only shooting in certain areas, things are likely to get nasty. And I've been warning them now for weeks, I've been warning. I said, when you looked at what transpired in Borbies, with people assaulting the people who are turned out there to Ashuddin Mohammed, and what happens? A woman makes a report, a people supporter makes a report to the police, and promptly the policeman and arrested the man against whom the report was made. And then discovered after that the woman is the person who assaulted the man, this Jafar Ali woman, Indira Jafar Ali, and then they release. What I'm saying, it requires proper leadership, it requires proper training. Because if a report is made, one would have thought that you're going to make at least some preliminary investigation before you say you're arresting people. And I am worried that things are going to deteriorate even further than this. Because you have policemen who are not trained and who are taking orders from people who want to see a particular outcome. And that is a dangerous thing. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong, but that is a gut feeling I get based on my experience, based on what I'm seeing going on. It is worrying. And I want to end by offering my condolences to the relatives and friends and family and all Lindeners. And this is what transpired here Monday night and yesterday morning. And hope that, well, not only the promises, I can't even say that I hope that they are sincere in what they're promising, because they just want to get the people off the road, and by next week, it's business as usual. Again,
Yes.
thanks for the opportunity to be here this evening.
Always my pleasure. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul Slowe. I know we call on you whenever we're in these tight situations, and I hate it because we're always talking about somebody's life, the life of some young man who was left a young child, and so forth. Really disturbing. Apostle London, always your perspectives are welcome. Thank you all very much. And to you, the audience, well, what can I say? How many more? How many more? How many more? It's got to stop. And if it's going to stop, we have to stop it. Nobody else is going to stop it. The government is not going to stop it. The political parties are not going to stop it. So we, the people, will have to organize ourselves. We're burying too many of our dead. Too many, too many, too many, too many. Enough has to be enough. Enough has to be enough.